The world of Minecraft is my home, my life. Each block I break, every mountain I climb, it's not some game, it's real. It's my world, the only one I've ever known. The grass beneath my feet, the sun rising on the horizon, and the familiar sound of my pickaxe echoing in the caves. All of it as real as the blood in my veins. For a long time I found peace in it. A strange, lonely peace, but peace all the same. I built, I mined, I survived. I had everything under control, or so I thought. But something has changed. Something dark, something wrong crept into my world. And now, I'm not sure if it's my mind playing tricks on me or if... No, it can't be. It shouldn't be possible. It began in the deep caves, where I always go to mine for iron, gold, and sometimes, if I'm lucky, diamonds. I know every twist, every turn of those tunnels like the back of my hand. I was alone, torch in hand, the warm glow casting shadows on the rough stone walls. My thoughts were clear, focused, just like they always are when I'm mining. But that's when I noticed something. Something that froze me in place. In the distance, far beyond the reach of my torchlight, I saw it. Eyes. 2 glowing white eyes staring back at me from the darkness. They weren't from a skeleton, or a spider, or any other creature I'd seen before. No, this was different. This felt human, or something pretending to be. I stood still for what felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew the mobs of this world. I had fought them all. But this was new. I could feel the air around me get colder, the silence so thick it choked me. Slowly those eyes disappeared, fading back into the black, as if they'd never been there at all. I should have left, should have run. But instead I told myself it was a trick of the light, a glitch in the world, maybe just my imagination. I continued mining, torch after torch, pushing further into the cave, but that nagging feeling wouldn't leave me, like a cold breath on the back of my neck. And then, the sound came. It wasn't the normal sounds, the footsteps of a zombie, or the hiss of a creeper. No, this was different. It was him. A deep, low growl echoed through the cavern, distant but unmistakable. Herobrine. The name alone sent shivers through my body. A name whispered in rumours and legends. A ghost, a glitch, a curse. No one ever believed he was real. But there, in the depths of the earth, I felt his presence. I knew he was watching me. That's when I realised I wasn't alone in my world anymore. I told myself I'd imagined it. There couldn't have been eyes in the dark. It was nothing more than shadows and the trick of light from my torch. But the silence that followed, the weight of it, clung to me like wet stone. It gnawed at the back of my mind as I kept digging deeper. Torch after torch, burning in vain to chase away the growing darkness. But no matter how many torches I placed, the shadows never seemed to stay away for long. The flickering light felt wrong, twisted, like something was warping it, bending it back toward the darkness that hungrily swallowed my world. I didn't want to admit it at first, but I felt it. A presence. I couldn't see it, but it was there, always just beyond the reach of my light. My skin prickled as if invisible eyes were crawling over me, watching my every move. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. The air felt heavier, thicker, cold. My breath came out in shallow gasps, as if the cave itself was slowly closing in around me. And then came the sounds. Subtle at first, like distant footsteps, but they weren't mine. They were too slow, too deliberate. A shuffle of feet dragging against the stone, a low scraping sound, as if someone was lurking just behind me. I spun around, my torch held high, casting a thin circle of light. Nothing. No mobs, no animals, just the cold, damp walls of the cave. But the air was wrong. It felt thick with something else. Something foul. The kind of thick you can smell, like wet stone, earth, and rot. That's when I heard it. A whisper. A low, garbled mutter that echoed off the walls, as if the cave itself was speaking in a language I couldn't understand. I couldn't make out the words, but it chilled my blood. It was faint, distant, like a voice carried on a dead wind. The deeper I went, the louder it became. The whispers. They were everywhere, surrounding me, crawling inside my ears. I started to see things out of the corner of my eye. Shifts in the shadows that darted away the moment I tried to focus on them. Flickers of white, those eyes, always watching me from the edge of darkness. There, and then gone. And then, the cave began to change. At first it was small, walls that shouldn't have been there, corridors that twisted back on themselves. It was subtle enough that I thought I'd just lost my way. But then the patterns started to repeat. The tunnels were wrong. The walls were off. I'd been here before, but now they stretched in ways they shouldn't, turned when I knew they had been straight. I tried to leave. I swear, I tried. But the deeper I went, the harder it was to find my way out. My paths, places I had mined and memorized, were gone. It was as if the world itself had rearranged behind me, trapping me deeper in its stone belly. The whispers grew louder, closer. They weren't just in the walls anymore. They were inside my head, scratching at my thoughts. My torchlight began to flicker, almost as if it was struggling to stay lit. And then I saw it. Him. At the end of a tunnel, there he stood. Herobrine. His face was blank, void of any expression, his skin as pale as bone. Those eyes, those empty, glowing white eyes, bored into me, deep and cold, like the gaze of something ancient and cruel. He didn't move. He didn't need to. I froze. The air was dead. The whispers stopped. Everything was silent. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart in my ears. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My body felt paralyzed, rooted to the spot as his gaze burned into me. And then, without a sound, he was gone. Just like that. Faded back into the shadows, as if he'd never been there at all. But I knew better. I wasn't alone down here. Something far worse than the mobs and monsters I'd fought was lurking in the darkness. Something I couldn't fight. Something I couldn't escape. And it was waiting for me to make the next move. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the spot where he'd vanished. Time felt wrong, twisted. My sense of it had been shattered, just like my grasp on what was real. My legs were weak, trembling, but somehow I forced myself to move, to keep walking. I had to get out. I had to escape. But the cave wasn't the same anymore. The walls had shifted, stretched. The once familiar stone corridors now felt like they were closing in, like they were alive, watching me, waiting for something. Every turn I took, every step I made, led me deeper into a maze of nightmares. I couldn't tell where I was anymore. It was like the world itself was playing tricks on me, bending reality around me, keeping me trapped. The whispers returned, louder this time, more insistent. They weren't just voices, they were commands, urgent, pleading, hateful. I couldn't understand them, but I knew they were speaking directly to me. They wanted me to do something, to submit, to surrender to whatever was lurking in the dark. And then, the light failed. My torch flickered once, twice, and then died, plunging me into total, suffocating darkness. I scrambled, desperate to light another, but my hands felt numb, my fingers useless against the cold stone. That's when I heard it again. Those footsteps, slow, steady, coming closer. My heart thundered in my chest as I backed into the wall, feeling the cold stone press against my spine. I knew it was him. I couldn't see him, but I felt him. Herobrine. Moving through the blackness, silent, save for those relentless footsteps that echoed in the empty air. And then, something cold brushed against my arm. A touch, so light it could have been imagined. But it wasn't. I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. My eyes tried to adjust, tried to find anything in the pitch-black void, but there was nothing. Nothing but those eyes, glowing softly in the distance, staring right through me. And then he spoke. It wasn't in words, not really. It was something deeper, more primal. It was as if his thoughts were burrowing into my brain, seeping into my mind like poison. Images flashed before me, distorted, broken images of things that shouldn't be. The world crumbling, the sky burning, everything swallowed by an endless void. And in the center of it all, those eyes watching, waiting. This world is mine. The voice rattled through my skull, a low, guttural snarl that wasn't human. It was ancient, raw, filled with a hatred that I couldn't comprehend. I stumbled, my legs giving out beneath me, collapsing to the cold ground. My head swam, the darkness pressing in tighter, suffocating me. The whispers rose again, louder, more chaotic, as if they were fighting for space inside my head. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world around me began to spin faster and faster until everything was a blur of black and white. And then, silence. When I woke, I was outside. The sun was rising, the sky painted in soft shades of pink and gold. The grass beneath me was warm, soft. It was morning. The cave entrance was behind me, a dark, gaping mouth that led back into the nightmare. But I didn't go back. I couldn't. I've tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that it was all just some twisted hallucination, a nightmare brought on by too many hours in the mines. But when I look at the sky, at the trees, at the world I once knew, it's different. Everything feels off, like something's lurking beneath the surface, something watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when I close my eyes, I still see him. Those white, empty eyes. Herobrine. He's still out there, somewhere, lurking in the shadows, hidden behind the blocks and pixels of this world. I can feel him every moment of every day watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake, because this world, it isn't mine anymore. It never was, and now it never will be.